guys. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm in Burns, Oregon at the Rory and Ryan Best Western Inn. And this is my jumping off place for the next couple of days that I'm going to spend out in the desert southeast of here. Okay, we're gassed up and headed out. So hopefully this will be a pretty exciting trip. I'm going down into another area of country that I've been through, but I haven't explored in much detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to travel about an hour and a half out of Burns, and I'm going to turn south on the Fields-Denio Road, which runs along the east side of the Steens Mountains. I'll head south down the Denio Fields Road and then take off to the east out there into the, kind of in the Sheepshead Mountains area. I've done a little research, so I've got about a half a dozen different possibilities for hopefully old stage stops or homesteads or historic sites marked out on the map. As we head out east of Burns, we're crossing the Harney Valley, or a portion of the Harney Valley. And basically this will be 40 or 50 miles or so of the first part of the route heading east out of Burns. There's a lot of history out in this Harney Valley. Obviously the earliest occupation out here was the Native Americans. A lot of it was marshy and swampy and lakes, so it had a lot of wildlife, a lot of bird life, and was excellent hunting grounds, as well as kind of a mecca of edible plants and foods for the Native Americans. And then of course, because of the resource-rich nature of the area, it was settled by some of the early settlers. I've seen some threads on the Overland Bound forums about some overland groups going through this country out here, but where we're going today will be beyond the reach of where everybody else gets. So we don't know what we're going to find, but we know we're going to be in country where not too many other people travel to, and hopefully we'll uncover some history out there that not very many people ever get a chance to see. Alright, so I'm just making a quick stop off here in Crane to grab a little snack, my last civilized meal. So there is gas here, a little cafe, little store, so Crane's about the last thing you're going to come to before either the Nevada border or Rome, one of the two. So you want to gas up here, get a snack, good little stop along the way. All right, after a nice little stop at Crane, at the Crane Cafe and gas station, I'm all jacked up on coffee and my belly's full of chicken fried steak. I wasn't necessarily going to have a meal there, but the food looked so good. And so I had chicken fried steak, a couple of eggs. It was absolutely delicious. So awesome couple of ladies working in the Crane Cafe. Was visiting with one a little bit, and she said the ticks and the rattlesnakes are really bad this year with the really early thaw and warmer weather we've had, and then with how humid it is. We'll see how this goes, but apparently I got to watch out for rattlesnakes and ticks on this trip. Alright, so it's about 10:30, and I just pulled over here at Foley Farm Road. And just out behind us out here is where the old post office and stage stop and everything that used to be Foley Farm was. There's nothing left of it today, and it's actually private land right here. But right here is the intersection of a couple of major historic roads. So this road right here that I'm on, this road will actually go all the way south. So I call it the Foley Farm Road. That's what we used to call it back in the day. But I think on maps it's called the Fields-Denio Road. And it goes from Highway 78 up here. That's the highway that goes from Burns to Burns Junction. It goes from Highway 78 south all the way to Fields and then on to Denio. This road's really an awesome drive to take if you're looking for something that's off pavement. It's paved right here, but it turns to gravel a couple of miles down there. And this road traverses the whole eastern side of the Steens Mountains. It goes by Mann Lake, the Alvord Desert. It's not a rough road. In fact, it's actually usually in really good condition all the way through. Man, this is an awesome drive just to see some really beautiful country. The Steens Mountains will be, if you're heading south on it, the Steens Mountains will be arcing up on your right the whole way down. And then as you get down towards the southern end of it, you'll have the big alkali pans of the Alvord Desert out there. So let's check out our backcountry navigator here. We're right here. I have this marked as the Foley Farm turnoff. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to head a little further down And right here, we're going to take off south into the Sheepshead Mountains here. All right, we are off the pavement, and now we're headed back into no man's land. So from this point forward, this first couple of miles, we're going to be headed out across this valley that was settled. So what I want to do is just keep my eyes peeled for any kind of a any kind of a sign of an old road, anything that might indicate the presence of a homestead or anything like that. I don't know for sure the location of one out in this area. I just know that this valley was settled. So we're going to travel across this valley, and then we'll head back up into the hills. And as we get up into the hills, we'll get into the country where some of the springs were. And that's where a couple of the sites I've identified where I actually believe there were a couple of homesteads are at. So one of the things I always love about trips like this is the kind of the unknown factor. So I'm pretty sure I can follow these roads into this area where I think there's a couple of homesteads. But then what I'm hoping to do is connect through the backcountry across a series of old tracks that I found on the map. I'm hoping to connect across into the area where I'm kind of tentatively thinking about camping tonight. So the adventurous part of it is that I'm looking at old maps with roads that at one time were theoretically passable routes, but I don't know that they still are today. So I wanted to show you guys something here. I've been following this wash up out of the valley floor back there behind me, and now there's starting to get to be a little trickle of water in the bottom of it. And this is something that's really unique about the desert country out here, is that generally speaking, you know, in a lot of areas in more forested mountains, generally to find water, what you're going to do is you find the draws and you keep following them down. And as more and more draws and springs converge, the likelihood of finding water increases. But out here in this country, it's the opposite. Generally speaking, you're going to find your springs and your water up higher in the hills. And this is a perfect example of it, where it's dry as a bone down there in the valley. And then now a mile or two, I'm getting up into these ravines, up into the shoulder of these mountains. And now I've found water here. Taking a little break here and spraying my pants down with permethrin to help keep the ticks away a little bit. I've already seen one on my pants from the last stop, so hopefully this will help. So I took a little hike out from the Jeep off of the point of this. It's just a small little ridge that juts out in between these two big old dry lake playas. And like a lot of these things, there's artifacts laying around everywhere here on the ground. It's also could potentially be a really cool place to camp. So I've just been doing a little walk around. I think I got a good enough camera angle. You can see kind of this little ridge up behind me. And I'm standing down in the flat that probably even a month ago had standing water in it. And years ago, when the climate was wetter, this would have been a year-round lake out here. And all along here, I'm finding broken pieces of scrapers and arrowheads and chips. And then up on top of that hill there, I found more of the fire-blackened rock, more of the things that would be indicative of the camp. So I'm pretty sure they camped along that ridge up there, and then probably hunted the edges of these tules down here. One thing you want to do if you're in an area where the rattlesnakes are is you want to make a lot of noise when you're walking around. And that's something, especially when I'm sniffing around, moving slow, and looking for signs of old history, that I have to remind myself to do. Because a lot of times when you're moving slower, you're moving quieter. And the rattlesnakes can sense the vibrations in the ground. And so the more kind of heavy-footed you are, the more likely you are to alarm them while you're still a good distance away from them, which is optimal. Holy hell, guys, I just dodged a bullet big time. So out behind me is this big lake flat, and I was about halfway across it, and I felt my rig starting to sink a little bit. And this is a classic example of this stuff looked dry and hard on top, but I hit a place where it was still wet underneath, and I started breaking through. So there was no way I could stop and turn around, so all I could do was just hammer it. And so I crossed about a quarter of a mile stretch back there where if I would have slowed down even for a second, I would have been sunk. And man, that is just a bottomless silt bed out there. I would have never got myself out of that. And man, I am way the hell and gone up here. No cell phone reception. So I'm going to grab a cold beverage and let my heart rate slow back down a little bit. Got a jug of cold brew here. I added some heavy whipping cream to it. And now I have a delicious Breve latte. All right, so one thing about coming across that lake like that was soft is I know I can't go back that way. So, especially after I drove over it once. So that means my only alternative is to push through this way. So that just means now more than ever, it's super critical that I find a route through this direction. So cross your fingers and I hope we make it through, and hope we see some interesting country along the way, because I'm not getting back out that way. Ah, shit. This looks a little sketchy too. I'm gonna have to get out and walk it a little bit and see what we got to work with here. All right, well now I'm in a pickle. This road in front of me, I can't risk. And the road behind me, I can't risk. So, I think I can detour around in the sagebrush, try to go around this wet spot. After a short little detour around that wet spot, it wasn't long and I was back up into some higher, rockier country. I had about another 45 minutes or so of trails to cross before I would hit the next place I had identified as the potential to find some old historic ruins. It was a site that, based on looking at the maps and the crossing of some old historic roadways, that I thought would be a good place for a homestead to be located. And as it turned out, I wouldn't be disappointed. Wow, guys, this is just incredible. There's this old stone corral out here, and it's pretty good size. It's all overgrown with sagebrush and everything. So I'm going to try to give you guys a good look at it, but I'm just thinking about all the effort that went into building this. I'm kicking around this little spot here where I thought there might be a homestead, and now I'm sure there is. I haven't located the homestead yet, but this stone corral tells me there was definitely something here. I can't even imagine the amount of work that it took to build this. Some settler and his family out here probably spent months and months and months building this corral. But one thing is, the cows are in here and the ticks are just freaking thick. I just brushed 2 of them off my pants. I got to get away from where these cows are to get away from the ticks. Wow, this is the coolest thing, a little buckaroo camp out here. I'm going to fly the drone over it and show you guys, but it's interesting. He's got a couple of buckaroo tents set up. There's also some kind of a travel trailer there, and then the little cabin that I'm thinking was the old homestead. But I would love to have a little place like that out here. It's a little chunk of private land, and it's probably 25 miles in any direction from a road that gets any traffic on it or anything. Pretty solitary life out here. All right, so I'm on the move now. I'm cruising to try to get over. I got to cross over a little saddle and try to get into the area where I was thinking about camping for the evening. It's just now turning 5 o'clock, and man, one thing, guys, the amazing thing about this country is I left the pavement at, I don't know, I think it was around noon or 11:30 or something. So I've been driving and exploring for 5 hours now, and I have not seen one single other person or vehicle this entire time. The closest thing to it was that little cow camp that I passed, and there may have been some old cowboy in there taking a nap. I don't know, but other than that, I haven't seen a single person. And oh, I gotta show you guys this. This is incredible. Wow, what a beautiful little oasis in here. I tried to film a little video clip out there, but the wind is just blowing crazy hard out here. Just a beautiful little spot. There's cattails growing over in the corner, a nice little rimrock there. A couple of ducks out on the water. This would be a pretty nice place to camp, actually. I'm going to mark this location on my tablet. This would be an awesome spot to camp. I see what I think might be some other people off in the distance. Let's see what's going on out there. Looks like it might be a couple of rigs. No, it's a couple of buildings with metal roof on them. Isn't that interesting? Huh. No, I don't see any people around it. No vehicles. Okay, we're gonna go check that out and see what that is. Make sure there's no rattlesnakes under there. Huh. It's wired up with power. So I think it's designed to be able to hook a generator up to the bed frame there. All you got to do is bring a mattress to throw down on the bed frame. It needs a little sweep in. It's actually a pretty cool little cabin. It's gonna make a nice little camp here. Good stuff. Let's go walk around and check the rest of it out. Little cow camp out here. Like there's an outhouse over there. There's a well here. So it was probably an old homestead at one time. Then they've turned it into a cow camp. And this would have been a pretty remote place to live. Pretty amazing the stuff you stumble across out in the middle of nowhere. Now, isn't this interesting? What do you suppose a 50 cal shell is doing way out here? I don't know what it's doing here, but I'm hoping I can do a little bit of research and find out what year, what era it's from. I was slowly edging my way closer to the area that I'd identified on the maps that I wanted to camp in. The problem is when you identify an area on the map, you can only see so much about it from contour lines and elevations. It looked like it might be some cool country, but I really had no idea what an amazing spot I was going to stumble into. As I dropped down and started losing a little bit of elevation, the valley opened up out in front of me to a huge alkali lake pan out there. I found a little trail that took off to my right, and I started skirting the alkali lake pan, and it was just some amazing, beautiful country. As I was driving through the sand dunes and across the edges of that lake, the sun started getting lower, and the scenery around me was just amazing. There was a lot of level ground, and I knew it was just a matter of finding that perfect spot. Guys, I have the most epic camp spot in the entire world, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking out over these sand dunes, out over this alkali lake out here. I've got this range of mountains around me. This is just my own little slice of paradise for the night. I'm having a quick little snack and then I'll throw my camp together. Sporting a new camp chair on this trip thanks to Lolo Overland. Cool new Overland place. He's pretty active on Instagram too. You can go check him out. This is the front runner chair. I'm looking forward to giving it a try tonight. Oh yeah, that's comfortable. All right, no rest for me yet though. All right, well, I'm gonna set up my ready light and then camp is pretty much set. I just can't get over how epic this spot is. Miles and miles and miles away from another person. I'm about ready for some dinner. I got just a tiny little fire pit here because number one, that's all I'm gonna need. I just need to cook a couple of sausages on here for my dinner. And number two, it is starting to get dry out here, even though I'm in a spot where there really isn't much to burn. I'll just keep it nice and low. It'll give me a nice little cooking fire. Plus, the only thing to burn around here is this grease wood, and it burns pretty fast, but I pulled up some of the roots, and they're nice and dense, really thick, heavy chunks of wood. I've got my Bill's grill here, so I've got it set up nice and low. All right, I'll just let that guy burn down a little bit. Then I should be able to get my sausages on there. All right, so let me show you guys what I'm working with tonight. It's a really simple meal. I got some sausages, a couple of them are on the grill already. I've got some stone ground mustard, some sauerkraut, some cheddar cheese, and a couple of nice hoagie buns. So I'm just gonna do a simple German style sausage dog for dinner. All right, let's fix these guys up. A little bit of sauerkraut. Oh, wait, let's do the stone ground mustard first. Gotta have the stone ground mustard. Then we can put the sauerkraut. Gotta have vegetables with your dinner, right? All right, guys, dinner is served. Having a coconut water is my beverage of choice. And a nice, simple German sausage dog. I like these because I'm German. You can't really beat that. To me, a good German sausage with sauerkraut is one of the kind of the real traditional camp meals. So I was thinking about that 50 cal shell, and I'm wondering if maybe it was dropped from an airplane. I think way back in the day, around World War II, they used to run some maneuvers out across some of this country. And in fact, an old timer one time told me that they used to shoot at the antelope out of the planes, and that that's how come for a long time the antelope were few and far between out here. There used to be, I guess, big herds of them, and from what this guy told me, when they were flying their strafing runs and their military maneuvers back and forth out across here, they used to just shoot at the antelope. But if that 50 cal case fell out of an airplane, it'd be interesting to do some more hiking around out there and see if I could find any more. I don't know. I'm hoping maybe the head stamp on it, I'm hoping I'll be able to find something about that, and it'll tell me a little bit, maybe about what year the cartridges were manufactured or something like that. I think I'm just going to kick back here for a couple more minutes and then get myself cleaned up and head up into the rooftop tent and get a good night's sleep. I've got a lot of ground to cover tomorrow, but I'm really looking forward to waking up in the morning and seeing more of this area right around where I'm camped. All right, so I do have one little new piece of gear to try out tonight in my sleep system. So you guys know I've been using this Klymit inflatable pillow up in my rooftop tent. And inflatable pillows, in my mind, are the perfect thing to use up in your rooftop tent because they don't take up any space when they're not inflated. And the problem with this one is it's really slick and it slides all around. So a company, Outdoor Vitals, sent me one of their pillows, and full disclosure here, they sent it to me free of charge, but it looks really comfortable. And what I really like about it is it has this kind of felt-like material on the outside of it, so it's not going to slide around on me as much. All right, so I'm going to try that guy out tonight, and I'll let you guys know in the morning how I like it. Anyway, I'm getting ready to crash out, get a good night's sleep. We've got a lot of exciting exploring tomorrow. I'm going to catch a little nap, and I'll see you guys in the morning for coffee. Coyote works out.
Morning, guys. 6 a.m. It's a success. The Outdoor Vitals camp pillow that I got, not only comfortable, but man, I can't tell you how much more convenient that is, that it doesn't continuously slide around on me all night. So that thing's a win. That's going in the Overland kit. It is just so gorgeous out here. Man. All right, let's go out there and check it out.
As I stepped down out of my rooftop tent, I was greeted by the spectacular landscape that surrounded me. Within pretty close proximity of my camp, I could see sand dunes, the huge alkali pan of the ancient lake out in front of me, and off in the distance I could see the snow-capped peaks of the Steens Mountains. Inspired by the crisp, cool morning air and the landscape that surrounded me, I was compelled to take a short little hike before I started my morning routine. Alright, I wanted to get packed up and out of camp early, and I probably still will, but I just had to come for a walk out here. This is just some really interesting landscape out here. I'm right on kind of the edge of a sand dune area, and then where I'm at, it's a little more rocky in here. The soil's a little firmer, and then of course I've got the big alkali pan out there behind me. Seen a few reptiles, a few lizards and things scampering across here. No rattlesnakes so far though, which doesn't disappoint me, to be honest with you. Well, you couldn't ask for a better place to wake up in the morning. This is just gorgeous here. I took a little walk, flew the drone around, took some pictures, and now I'm just going to have a little orange juice and Tillamook brand Greek yogurt. I'll get some breakfast in me because I got a lot of exploring to do. I have my phone charging on my ready light. I like to, as much as possible, keep my phone fully charged up just in case something happens, some kind of an emergency. And it's always good to have a full battery in your phone. Alright, got a little breakfast in me, had a nice little morning walk. Man, it's already starting to get hot out here. That's one thing about the desert country is, man, it's nice at nighttime. It cools down nice. But once that sun hits, it starts warming up fast. So about 8 a.m., I'm going to pack up my camp real quick. That'll take me about 10 minutes. Then we're going to head out across the other side of this alkali lake and see if we can't find us some ruins. All right, geared up and good to go. Finish this last drink of coffee and we'll get camp packed up. So I'm loving this Front Runner chair from Lolo Overland. Plus, the Lolo guys are just great guys. I met them up at the Northwest Overland Rally a couple of weeks ago. They've got an Instagram page. You can check them out on Instagram. That's it. Just one little square. Pack up my ready light stand. Keep this grill tucked away inside a Sea-Line dry bag, and that way I can stuff it in my loadout duffel inside my Jeep and it doesn't get everything all black and greasy from all the things that I cook on it. Alright, that's a little bit of dusty work getting camp tore down out here. I always like to, last thing before I get in my rig, wipe the dust down off me a little bit. You guys notice I use these blue shop paper towels for almost everything out here. They just hold together better than regular paper towels. In fact, most of the time I can get kind of some reuse out of them. All right, now that we're washed up, I can throw the last couple of things in the Jeep. I've just got the ready light out here charging the last couple of minutes in the sun. Alright, we are on the road, so I'm going to try to work my way around this lake and get to a place where I've got an old map marking on the other side that says there's some ruins. So this road was a little sketchy getting in here, so I don't know for sure if I'm going to be able to make it. If it gets too overgrown with cheatgrass and stuff, I'm not going to attempt it because I don't want to risk starting a fire out here. Alright guys, off in the distance, I spotted something really cool. The problem is it's going to be a hike through some pretty thick brush up to it. Look at that, guys. Wow guys, well I really don't know what this structure was, but it was pretty substantial. A lot of energy went into those rock walls. Are like 2-3 feet thick and it's a pretty decent size. So I don't know if it was a stage stop. It seems like the old historic road was on the other side of this alkali lake from here, so it doesn't seem like it would have been a stage stop, but whatever it was, it had a fairly significant purpose for somebody to go through all this effort to put it together. Really incredible to stumble across this out here. Again, many thanks to the historic USGS map layers and Backcountry Navigator for giving me a map point for ruins out here. It's not on any of the newer versions of maps. The map shows that there's also a little spring in here. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to look around a little bit. After exploring around the old ruins for a little bit, I headed back down to my Jeep and hit the trail again. I still had more than 3/4 of the way around that old dry alkali lake to go, and the trail was pretty rough. In some places it almost disappeared. But it was really cool country all the way around it, and I thoroughly enjoyed the drive. I started working my way back a little further to the west because there was one more location that I really wanted to get to on this trip. It was a hot springs that I hadn't been to in probably 15 years. In fact, I wasn't even sure that I'd be able to find it. But as it turns out, I was needlessly questioning my navigation abilities. A few hours later, and I started seeing some familiar looking terrain. So right behind me is Mickey Hot Springs, and I've got the camera set up on this big kind of a bubble thing here that was created by, I'm guessing it was created by the minerals from the water continually pushing up to the surface. So there's several of these around here. There's also several pools here. Now, this one here, I believe, is too hot to get in, but I think there's another pool down over there that's a little bit cooler. But this is an awesome stop. Mickey Hot Springs is one of those kind of natural wonders out here in the desert that's just really cool to see. I don't know if you guys can see the steam coming off of these, but I can feel the heat coming out of these springs right here. So these are geothermal springs, and the water is just about boiling temperature. In fact, I think it's boiling temperature under the ground, and it starts to cool as soon as it hits the surface. Pretty incredible, a little mini Yellowstone out here. There's quite a few hot springs scattered out across the southeastern corner of the Oregon Desert. I've been to quite a few of them, and a lot of them are really interesting, but Mickey Hot Springs has always been one of my favorites. Back in the day, it used to be that hardly anybody ever made it to it. There were some signs around there that a few other people are getting to it these days, but it's still pretty remote, it's off the beaten track, and it's another one of those truly interesting natural wonders that are scattered out across the southeastern Oregon Desert. It was time for me to start working my way back home at that point. Home for me still being about 8 hours to 10 hours drive away. But I got a text message from a guy I'd been in contact with on Instagram for a while, and it turned out he was camped down at the southern end of the Alvord Desert. So I jetted down there to meet up with him, and man, that guy knows how to pick a campsite. So I'll leave you guys here with a few clips of that campsite that he was staying at for the next couple of days. I wish I could have stayed longer. It was great meeting him, and I hope to get a chance to hang out with him some more. But for now, I'll leave this trip here. I appreciate you guys joining me. Thanks for all your support. I hope you enjoyed this adventure, and I'll catch you on the next one. Coyote Works out, and remember, always adventure.